Thank you to everyone for joining us for our celebration of both Asalha Puja. We've moved Asalha Puja a little bit early, so it's on the weekend, so you can actually come out. The real date will be Wednesday next week. And a little bit about Mettarama. So Mettarama is an urban Bhikkhuni residence, which is supporting nuns in Sydney. So Mettarama has been around since 2018 under various names. So you can see the previous name there as Terry Mettarama, and also our current name, which is Mettarama, which is a little bit shorter. So at the moment, I've been resident at Mettarama since March last year. This is Aya Padma, who's been visiting us, while she's in transition. So she'll be travelling onward to Thailand for the rains. So, is there anyone who's planning to observe 8 precepts today? Okay, no one planning to take 8 precepts today? In that case, then we can proceed with the chanting to take the 3 refuges and 5 precepts. It may be easiest if we just go straight through these because I don't have the books to tell you what to do the request. So we'll just begin by saying Namo Tassa and then chanting straight through. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhassa. So what I say, you repeat. Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Ti Saranagamanang Nittitang. So what I say, you repeat. Panatipata Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Adinna Dana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Kame Sumichachara Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Musawada Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Sura Meraya Majapamaratana Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Imani Pancha Sikkhapadani Silena Sugating Yanti Silena Puga Sampada Silena Nibuting Yanti Tasma Silang Visothaye. So what we've just chanted will be familiar, I think, to most or all of you. So going firstly to the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha for refuge, and then undertaking to refrain from taking life, to refrain from stealing, to refrain from sexual misconduct, to refrain from telling lies, and to refrain from intoxicating liquors and drugs that lead to heedlessness. And you know that verse at the end sometimes is a little bit different depending on where you go. This is the Thai style conclusion. So these precepts they lead to a good rebirth. Through Sila, Sila leads to a good rebirth. Sila leads to wealth, and Sila leads to unbinding, which is Nibbana. So therefore, we should purify our virtue. So all of these things that we may wish to accomplish, you know, whether it's success in this life or the next or Nibbana, Sila is the foundation for all of those things. So in undertaking the precepts today, we've all set a wonderful foundation, you know, for our own futures. So for those of us who have been joining for the regular Uposatha program, you know, today is a little bit different, and Dana apologised for not being able to be here. But what we've been doing over the past few months is looking at some of the core teachings of the Buddha in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, which is the Buddha's first discourse on setting in motion the wheel of Dhamma. So, you know, what's special about today, as we're commemorating upcoming Asalha Puja, is, you know, this was the time that the Buddha taught that sutta. So, you know, we can imagine the Buddha teaching the group of 5 at the deer park in Isipatana near Varanasi. So like Varanasi, for anyone who hasn't been there, is quite, you know, amazing. You have like the Ganges, and on one bank you have nature, it's just like the sandy bank, and on the other hand you have like, you know, civilization, and a very old civilization, being the Indian civilization. So in the midst of all of that, that's you know, where the Buddha is first conveying you know, the truth that he's realized, you know, which is his awakening. And we'd also recently gone through the Anathalakkana Sutta, so looking at, you know, how did the Buddha actually convey, what is the substantive content of that awakening experience, in terms of the insight into the 5 khandhas, in terms of the 3 characteristics, in terms of, you know, impermanence, suffering, and non-self. So I wanted to do something a little bit different today, and I did actually want to go through that Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta in Pali as a chanting, because it's a little bit longer. We don't always get the chance to do that. Okay, so you're welcome to join us in actually reciting the Buddha's first teaching, which is the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Evaṃ me sutaṃ ekaṃ samayang bhagavā Vāranasiyang viharati isipatane migadaya tatrako bhagavā pañcavāggiye bhikkhu amantesi tve me bhikkhave anta pavajitena nasevitapa Yochayang kame sukamasu kalikanu yogo hino gammo potu janeko anariyo anata sanhito Yochayang atta kilamatanu yogo dukkho anariyo anatta sanhito Ete te bhikkhave uppo ante anupagamma majjhima patipada tathagatena abhisambuddha Caku karani jnana karani upasamaya abhinyaya sambodhaya nibbanaya samvadati Katamaca sabhikave majjhima patipada tathagatena abhisambuddha caku karani jnana karani upasamaya abhinyaya sambodhaya nibbanaya samvatati ayameva ariyo attangiko mago seyatidang samaditi sama sangkapo sama waca sama kammanto sama ajiwa sama wayama sama sati sama samadhi ayam kosa bhikkhave majjhima patipada tathagatena abhisambuddha caku karani jnana karani upasamaya abhinyaya sambodhaya nibbanaya samvatati idang kopana bhikkhave dukkhaṃ arya saccam jati pidukkha cara pidukkha maranam pidukkha soka parideva dukkha domana supayasaya pidukkha apiyehi sampayogo dukkha piyehi upayogo dukkha yang bijang nalabati tam pidukkha sankitena pancupadana kanda dukkha idang kopana bhikkhave dukkha samudayo arya saccam yayam tanha pono bhaveka nanti raga sahagata tatra binandini seyatita kamatanha bhavatanha vibhavatanha idang kopama bhikkhave dukkha nirodho arya saccam yoda sayeva tanhaya isesa viraga nirodho cago patinisakko muti analayo idang kopana bhikkhave dukkha nirodhagamini patipada arya saccam ayameva ariyo vatangiko maggo seyatidang samaditi sama sangkapo sama waca sama kamanto sama jiwa sama wayama sama sati sama samadhi idang dukkha arya sacchanti me bhikkhave Pube ananusute sutamesu cakum udapari jnanam udapari panya udapari vija udapari aloko udapari tangko panidang dukkhaṃ arya saccam Parineyanti me bhikkhave pube ananusute sutamesu Cakum Udapadi Jnanam Udapadi Panya Udapadi Vija Udapadi Aloko Udapadi Tangko Panidam Dukam Hariya Sacham Harinyatam Time Bhikkhave Pube Ananusute Sudamesu Chakum Udapadi Jnanam Udapadi Panya Udapadi Vija Udapadi Aloko Udapadi Idam Dukkha Samudayo Hariya Sachanti Me Bhikkhave Pube Ananusute Sudamesu Chakum Udapadi Jnanam Udapadi Panya Udapadi Vija Udapadi Aloko Udapadi Tanko Panitang Dukkha Samudayo Ariya Sacham Pahatabanti Me Bhikkhave Ube Ananusute Sudamesu Chakum Udapadi Jnanam Udapadi Panya Udapadi Vija Udapadi Aloko Udapadi Tanko Panidam Dukkha Samudayo Ariya Sacha Paninam Time Bhikkhave Ube Ananusute Sudamesu Chakum Udapadi Jnanam Udapadi Panya Udapadi Vija Udapadi Aloko Udapadi Idam Dukkha Nirodho Hariya Sachanti Me Bhikkhave Ube Ananusute Sudamesu Chakum Udapadi Jnanam Udapadi Panya Udapadi Vija Udapadi Aloko Udapadi Tanko Panidam Dukkha Nirodho Hariya Sacham Sachikatam Panti Me Bhikkhave Ube Ananusute Sudamesu Chakum Udapadi Jnanam Udapadi Panya Udapadi Vija Udapadi Aloko Udapadi Tanko Panidam Dukkha Nirodho Hariya Sacham Sachikatanti Me Bhikkhave Ube Ananusute Sudamesu Chakum Udapadi Jnanam Udapadi Panya Udapadi Vija Udapadi Aloko Udapadi Idam Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada Ariya Sachanti Me Bhikkhave Ube Ananusute Sudamesu Chakum Udapadi Jnanam Udapadi Panya Udapadi Vija Udapadi Aloko Udapadi Tanko Panidam Dukkha Nirodha Gamini Patipada Ariya Sacha Bhaveta Bhanti Me Bhikkhave Ube Ananusute Sudamesu Chakum Udapadi Jnanam Udapadi Panya
Udaparivicha Udapariyaloko Udaparitanko Panidam Dukkha Nirodhagamini Patipada Hariya Sacham Bhavanti Te Me Bhikkhave Pupeyana Sutamesu Chakum Udaparinyana Udaparipanya Udaparivicha Udapariyaloka Udapariyavakivanchame Bhikkhave Ime Suchatusu Arya Sachesu Evanti Parivattam Tvadasakaram Yata Bhutan Jnanadasanam Nasuvisuddham Ahosi Nevatavaham Bhikkhave Sadevake Loke Samarake Sabrahmake Sasamana Brahmaniya Pajaya Sadeva Manusaya Anuttarang Sammasambodhi Abhisambuddho Pachanyasing Yato Chekho Me Bhikkhave Ime Suchatusu Arya Sachesu Evanti Parivattam Tvadasakaram Yata Bhutan Jnanadasanam Suvisudam Ahosi Ataham Bhikkhave Sadevake Loke Samarake Sabrahmake Sasamana Brahmaniya Pajaya Sadeva Manusaya Anuttarang Sammasambodhim Abhisambuddho Pachanyasing Jnanam Chapaname Dasanam Udapadi Akupame Vimutti Ayam Anti Majjati Nati Dani Unabhavoti Idamavocha Bhagava Attamana Panchavagiya Bhikkhu Bhagavato Vasitam Abhinandan Imasmin Chepanaveya Karanasmin Vanyamane Ayasmato Kandanyasa Virajam Vitamalan Dhammachakum Udapadi Yankinchi Samudaya Dhammang Sabantam Nirodhamanti Bhavati Te Che Bhagavata Dhammachake Bhummadeva Sattamanusavesun Etang Bhagavata Varanasiyam Isipatane Megadaye Anuttarang Dhammachakam Pavatitam Apattivatiyam Samanena va Brahmanena va Devena va Marena va Brahmana va Kenachiva lokasminti Pumanang devanang sadang sutva Chatu maharajika deva sadamanusavesan Chatu maharajika devanang sadang sutva Tavating sadeva sadamanusavesan Tavating sanang devanang sadang sutva Yama deva sadamanusavesan Yamanang devanang sadang sutva Tusita deva sadamanusavesan Tusitanang devanang sadang sutva Nirmanarati deva sadamanusavesan Nirmanaratina devanang sadang sutva Paranimitta vasavati deva sadamanusavesan Paranimitta vasavatina devanang sadang sutva Brahmakayika deva sadamanusavesan Etang bhagavata varanasiyam Isipatane migadaye Anuttarang dhammacakang Pavatitan apativatiyam Samanena va brahmanena va devena va marena va brahmana va kenachiva lokasminti itihatena kanena tena muhutena Yava Brahma Loka Sattu Apugachi Ayancha Dasa Sahasi Lokadatu Sankampi Sampakampi Sampavedi Apamano Cheholaro Basu Loke patura hosi Atikameva devanam devanubhavam Atako bhagava uranam Udanesi anyasi vata bhukondanyo Anyasi vata bhukandanyoti iti hidang ayasmato kondanyasa anya kondanyoteva nama ahositi Dhammacakkappavattana suttang nititang. Okay, so that sutta obviously recalls, the core content of the Buddha's awakening experience being the middle path, the Noble Eightfold Path, and the 12 permutations with the verbs, which elaborate the Four Noble Truths as well. So each of those Four Noble Truths has action verbs, which are put into, the truth and the task, which gives, and the realization that the task has been completed, which gives us this lovely 12-fold, kind of wheel, which is the basis of that sutta. But anyway, it's really nice. I haven't actually done like long chanting for a very long time. So nice to lift some spirits. So what I wanted to do today, we're very lucky to have Tina here as well as Tina's parents. So today is very significant for us because we've just concluded nearly 4 years at the Smithfield residence, which has kindly been made available by Tina's family. So what I actually have, I have a PowerPoint to, to prompt some reflection on the nearly 4 years that's just passed, where we have just been really blessed to have, the birth of a nun's residence in Sydney. And the Buddha said, there are 2 things which are hard to find in the world. One is a grateful and thankful person, and the second one is the first person to do a good deed. So when I think about Smithfield, actually the Smithfield residence is something, that's very difficult to find because it was really the initiation of the Mettarama project. So, to carry on something is a bit easier. To actually start something is very rare. So I'll just get the casting working and we can have a look at some of these photos to really, just acknowledge and appreciate everyone who's contributed to Mettarama at the previous location. And I'll open up afterwards, just a chance for, just public sharing of any memories related to the Smithfield time. So this is Teresa Street. So that flag came from Sri Lanka, from Nimi. That's where Mettarama had been based since 2008. So, Smithfield was only made possible through Tina Ng's parents, Shu Tung Ng and Yet Lung Wong. So lovely to see you both here today. Just really very deeply grateful that you had that, willingness to be able to make the property available to all donors, friends and supporters of Mettarama at Smithfield, and also to the Arms Round donors. So this is the brief list. It's not actually the full list of Arms Round donors from Smithfield. So, there's a kind of Chinese expression that talks about, eating the food of 1,000 families. So that's really what Smithfield Arms Round was like. Maybe not quite 1,000, but, quite potentially a few hundred Arms Round donors during our times in Smithfield. So this is Fairfield Heights and Fairfield donors only, in addition to members of the public who regularly supported. Tuan Tan Grocery in particular, as well as Tran and Sons Bakery. I'd probably be a lot skinnier or dead without their support. So, and I think, one of the things about Smithfield Arms Round too is that in addition, to the support of the Thai and Lao Buddhist community, that area, we also had many generous members of the Assyrian community who also assisted with Arms Round. Additionally, the lawn, I have some pics later. So Nigel was the neighbour. Nigel, in many cases, actually stepped in to do the lawn, especially after COVID when no one could come in. Kim and Fook, our local supporters, Alex and Ishika, Tom and Ling, as well as Zen, Michael, Shireen, Dana, Serena and Noveline, among others, have all had a go with the mower. So all contributors to rent and bills. And, it's really hard to do these things because I do actually remember every single donation we've received. And, to actually go through them, we're talking about several hundred people in the community. So these are just some things I picked out because it does take effort to actually come out to Smithfield and mow the lawn and to do all of these things. So I wanted to acknowledge that, but it's not an exhaustive list because everyone's contributions are very much remembered and valued. So I don't know if this is a blast of the past. So this is, I think this is moving in, so I wasn't there, but we've managed to scrounge this photo up from, I think, the internet. Oh no, this is from the Meta Centre Facebook. So that's, I'll give Tina a chance to talk at the end of the slides, but we can see Bomkyon Sinim, Bante Sujato, Bante Akaliko, Tina, Zen, Tina's mum, all looking very happy to move in, and you know the shrine that Bomkyon Sinim had at the back. And this was what the place looked when I moved in, looked like when I moved in. So Bomkyon Sinim, you know, had the Buddha hall at the back, and that lovely, you know, that lovely open area that was at the Smithfield residence, and she actively made use of that for meditation and chanting, and looking, you know, very Korean with the lovely lanterns. And, you know, that was, you know, when I moved in, that was what the room I moved into looked like. So many of those items, I have been informed, were made available by donors. Some of them were Sunim's stuff. So, you know, also quite an accomplishment to actually, you know, have a place, you know, that you can just come in and it's very easy. So this really, like, to me, this feels like an eternity ago. Like, this feels like just, it feels like it's been 10 years, not 1 year. And I also have the date wrong. It should be, it's not this year, it's last year. But, you know, I'm just really grateful to everyone who came out to see me when I first came. You know, Alex and Ishika actually picked me up at the airport. So we have some, you know, some famous figures of Sydney Buddhism. We have Sun Sin, you know, and Harshini. And, you know, also joining in the Lokanta arms round in the very early days, going out with Ling and co to different places. So in May 2021, Sunim left. So as a result, you know, Zen and the Meta Centre kindly set up the a Mettarama account, and you know we had initial meetings which led to the Vision Day for the monastery. So Bante Sujato was there, I was there, Tina was there, Zen was there, as well as Deepika and Radha. You know, kindly hosted it, Tina and Zen's place. And, you know, all of this is happening under COVID. So I've come under COVID and, you know, that we're just not having any events. But, you know, Tina was kindly able to host the Vision Day meeting where we invited people to give feedback on, you know, what a Mettarama monastery project could look like. So that was August last year. And that is my preceptor. That is Aya Santini from Wisma Kuslayani Bhikkhuni. I think it's a monastery now, it's not a hermitage anymore. Bhikkhuni monastery in Indonesia. So she's looking very lovely. You know, she's very photogenic. You know, she's always just very angelic, I think, actually, and very wise. So my preceptor, Aya Santini, you know, kindly provided this advice for the Mettarama community. So very succinctly, to practice the Buddha's teachings happily and diligently. So some enduring words of encouragement from my nun teacher, my Bhikkhuni preceptor. So we have, this is November 2021. So this is after lockdown. This is actually our first in-person working group meeting at Smithfield. So we can see, you know, everyone who's turned out to really support that meeting, as well as the amount of food turnout as well, which is, you know, always quite incredible. So we have, you know, from left to right, we have Zen, Terry, Tom, Radha, Jayantha, as well as Tina, Ling, Sophia, Annie, Noveline, Deepika, and Teresa, as well as Bante Sujato and myself. So this is the composition of our first working group. So these are the people who got together to say, you know, let's do this. Let's have Mettarama. So really quite impressive that, you know, so many people have turned up to continue the project. And as a result of that meeting, the group has adopted these aims. So, you know, adopting the vision of having an urban Bhikkhuni monastery in Western Sydney for the practice and study of Buddhism. And, you know, setting up and supporting a Bhikkhuni residence in urban Sydney. And, you know, at the time, there was a need to move into a more suitable residence. So setting an immediate goal to, you know, look for a new residence and to move out of Smithfield. So Mettarama was referenced on ABC National Radio National in 2021 as part of the, you know, my presentation for the 25th anniversary of the Bhikkhuni revival. So talking to Dr. Meredith Lake on the ABC, you know, about, you know, nuns in Western Sydney. So we've gone from, you know, the decision to make a residence available to actually being on national radio for Mettarama. And these are just the short list of the Dhamma programs that Mettarama supported during lockdown. So, you know, continuously, even though we couldn't have in-person events, Mettarama was supporting, you know, on many online events the whole time. So some of these are via, many of these are via external organisations. So including Sakyadhita Australia, the Buddhist Mahavihara Malaysia, the Methodist Centre, with whom we now have an auspicing arrangement, Servants of the Buddha, which is a Sri Lanka-based organisation, as well as Laikanta Vihara and the Mahabodhi Society of India, and many other associations nationally and internationally. You know, Mettarama has also supported local community events, such as the Cabramatta Community Waisak, the Lankaramia Waisak, which was hosted by their youth group last year, a visit to Dharma Home in Yaguna, house dinners and home events. You know, we've provided free Dharma book distribution and as well as individual guidance. So another thing that's been new for me, again, which is, you know, the only reason these things can happen is because of Mettarama, because of the residents. So I have been involved more recently in representing the Buddhist community on a number of cemetery trusts. So that includes, you know, the two major Crown trusts, which is One Crown, and also on the other major Crown trust, which is Catholic Cemeteries and Crematoria. So this representation actually means that the Buddhist community now has a voice in changes affecting cemeteries and crematoria in New South Wales, which includes, you know, upcoming reforms. So, you know, Mettarama, we can see it's, you know, it's there for the wider community. And that's just the media release around that. And these are some of the publications that have been supported during Mettarama's time in Smithfield. So, Manjini De Silva's biography, Manjini De Silva being a key figure in the Sri Lankan Bhikkhuni revival. So, you know, while we were in Smithfield, I was able to get her biography printed via the Buddhist Cultural Centre in Sri Lanka. You know, we've published working group member profiles, kindly provided by Teresa in the working group, as well as the newsletter. And, you know, maintaining the talk links and articles on the website. And I have something special. I have a video from Ayya Jatindriya, because those nuns actually stayed at the Smithfield residence during the bushfire evacuation. So Ayya Jatindriya has kindly sent a video, which I haven't watched either, so we'll all get to watch together, because she also wanted to express her gratitude for her time at Mettarama.
Hello everybody who's watching this video. Venerable Savira asked if I would say a few words on video for this occasion, which I understand is an opportunity to recollect and express some gratitude for the existence of Mettarama, formerly known as Terry Mettarama, in Smithfield. So I understand Venerable Severe has moved to a new residence in Harris Park now. So since I had the opportunity to stay at Smithfield when it was Terry Mettarama, I'll just say a few words about that. Firstly, I'm recording from Viveka Hermitage in the far south of New South Wales in Eurobodalla Shire. A new residence here for myself, Venerable Jayasara, and also our third resident, little Sumadu. Sumadu also spent time at Smithfield at Terry Mettarama because we had to evacuate there from Santi Monastery during the dreadful bushfires. So I'll put her back to bed, but she wants to say thank you very much for the time there. She was very happy there. Yes, it was a bit of a dramatic unfolding at that time. We first learned of Terry Mettarama when Venerable Bom Hyon Sunim came to visit us at Santi Monastery and told us about this new place where she'd moved to and made the nuns at Santi very welcome to come and visit and also to make use of the residence there if we needed to whilst in Sydney. So, of course, when we were under the bushfire threat, this came to mind. We thought Terry Mettarama was probably the best place to go and spend some time at a safe distance. So we stayed at Santi as long as we could during that season. But on New Year's Eve, I think it was 2019 moving into 2020. I might be wrong. I should have checked my dates, but I think that's right. New Year's Eve we evacuated, and myself, Venerable Jayasara, and Sumadu, we came up to Terry Mettarama. Venerable Niroda had already gone to WA to Dhammasara to celebrate their 10th Bhikkhuni anniversary. So she decided to stay on there for a bit and subsequently was invited to do some retreat time in Thailand. So it was myself, Venerable Jayasara, and Sumadu who came up to Smithfield. And so very grateful for Sunim's welcome and Tina's welcome to stay there. We didn't know how long we'd have to be away. As it was, Venerable Jayasara had a pre-arranged trip to India for a few weeks, so she went off there in the new year. So it was myself and Sumadu and Sunim at Smithfield, and we ended up staying there for 5 weeks in total before we could move back to Bandanoon. And I kept myself busy continuing to watch the situation at Bandanoon and post news about that on our website. But also we had some really wonderful support by various supporters, people who we already knew from Santi living in Sydney, who supported us, as well as new friends we met through a connection with Sunim and Terry Mettarama, and had the opportunity to spend a bit of time with the Bantes in Harris Park as well. So I just want to express our deep gratitude for that time that we spent and for all of those people, all of the supporters who made it possible for us to be there and stay comfortably. Even though, as you remember, there was lots of smoke in the skies and that was a searing summer. We hit the record, I think Penrith hit the record at 49 degrees, and I'm pretty sure it was 48 degrees in Smithfield that day. I remember because the nighttime temperature didn't get below 32 degrees in the house. That was the hottest I'd ever experienced. and probably for many people. So we were very grateful, as I said, for all the support, for Tina, her family, and all the different friends and supporters who made it possible for us to stay there comfortably, and to Sanem as well, who was very welcoming. So if this is a day of remembrance and of gratitude, as we acknowledge the closing of that first chapter of the Smithfield residence, Terry Mettarama, and now morphed into Mettarama and moved to Harris Park. It really feels lovely that Venerable Severa has taken up residence and seems to have a vision for a longer term opportunity for herself and for other nuns there, and for the lay community to benefit from a nun's presence in Western Sydney. And I'm sure that the nuns from Santi in Bundanoon will be able to also regularly visit up that way. So I wish you all the best for the ongoing development of Mettarama in whatever form that takes. Wishing Venerable Severa all the best, and all the associated lay community and friends of Mettarama. I wish you all the best, and sharing the blessings of the Triple Gem. May we all grow together in the Buddha's deep wisdom, in the blessings of the Triple Gem, to bring benefit to this world at this time of need. So a sign off there, and best wishes also from Venerable Jayasara, who's just moved into a kuti we have in the back garden, which she's happy about, and greetings also from Sumadu, who's still going strong at 21 years old. Well, she's sleeping a lot more actually. I guess 21 translates to about 140 or so. So she might still outlive us. So all blessings to everyone there. May you be well, may you be happy, may you realize the highest Dhamma. Bye for now.
Yeah, so Aya Jitindri was very kind in sending that video in to show her. Yeah, gratitude for their time at the Smithfield residence. So we didn't receive any guests during COVID. However, our first COVID guest was Aya Padma. And so, Mettarama has been a convenient location for, monastics to sort out visas and more. So I also wanted to share, a way that Mettarama has been supporting and engaging the lay community. So, we were having volunteers coming out, and we wanted a way to share Dhamma during their trip to Smithfield. So this was really the birth of the Mettarama Uposatha program. I don't have any pictures of anyone meditating or anything because, it's hard to be meditating and to take the pictures at the same time. Some of these have kindly been provided by Serena. So you can see the hall where we did the both the study and the meditation as part of that program, as well as Ling's smiling face. And I think that's, that rice was via Serena. So, very much a very lovely day where people are coming out and learning Dhamma and having a chance to share and discuss, and to spend some time together in a very wholesome and uplifting environment. And as well as benefiting, from Ling's kitchen enthusiasm. Because for her, that's very much an act of service for her. That's what she finds meaning in helping and supporting others. Even just to keep the place, maintained, we really had to draw on the support of the wider community. And you can see there's a lot of gardening photos, but fewer meditation photos, because when people are gardening, it's easier for me to go around with the camera. It's a bit harder when people are meditating. So we can see Teresa, who took time out of her very busy schedule to actually come out to the western suburbs, Michael, Dana, and I can't see, but I think that's Shireen in the background. Noveline, Zen, and our local volunteers, Kim and Fook. You know, Fook was kindly bringing the lawnmower out before we got the present lawnmower via Tina and Zen. So, you know, we really owe a lot as well to Kim and Fook for their generosity. I think that's Tom in the yellow shirt blending into the fence, and Ling as well, you know, doing the grass clippings. So, you know, I think without those people, we would have a council notice already. But you know, the community really got together to help out. And this was one of the very last events that we held, you know, while actually resident at Smithfield. So this was May this year, immediately prior to moving out in June. So this was, in my opinion, this was, you know, a Mettarama success story, our first major public event. And you can see from the chairs that we attracted a good local turnout in Parramatta. So a lot of people came, you know, as well as our regular crowd, some Ambedkarite Buddhists, Buddhists from Bangladesh, you know, and other South Asian backgrounds, you know, and members of the local public who joined us to celebrate the birth, awakening, and parinibbana of the Buddha. So, you know, members of the working group were very creative and worked very hard on the fundraising stalls, and we were actually able, you know, to raise some money to support ongoing costs. And you can see Ling's plants actually. They just did the front. But you know, even like Noveline, Teresa, Noveline sold many sweets that day, as well as you know, Teresa's art prior to the Dharma program. And there was like what you call like Asalha as well. You know, the free drinks refreshment stall kindly provided by Jayanta and Nimi, you know, in addition to everyone's support. You know, the shrine was kindly put together by Shieni. So I think the candle holders came from the Indonesian Buddhist Association. So, you know, this being post-COVID, this was quite a transitional event for us because it showed we can actually, you know, we do actually have the capacity to be holding, you know, things on a slightly larger scale, which is, it's a bit difficult when you're in a residential area. So, you know, Zen's kind help with the booking for the hall meant that we were actually able to get ourselves into a more public space. So this is the present committee. So as we move forward, the working group has morphed into, you know, a more substantial set of roles. Again, all of whom have been working just incredibly hard to make Mettarama happen. So Satu Animodana to everyone. So I have on the program. Okay, I just got to see what the program's telling me to do. So we're meant to reflect on nearly 4 years of Mettarama at Smithfield. Oh, okay, so what I wanted to do now is to just basically open up to everyone. You know, if you also had any stories from the Smithfield residents. Maybe Tina would like to say a few words.
Yeah, that was so amazing just watching that journey, because actually we haven't had this for very long. It's only been 4 years, but it feels like so much has happened. And I'm so incredibly grateful for Isabira and all the people who've been able to come together and make it Mettarama what it is today. So it's such an inspiring project. And how it actually started was simply because Sabine came to me and said, I really need a place to stay. And she's not the first person who have told me that there's difficulties for Buddhist nuns in various traditions to have difficulty with accommodation. And so I thought, well, I don't have a lot of money to spend on building a big temple, and that's going to take time, but what I can offer is Smithfield. And so with the blessing from my mum and my dad, then Smithfield was then offered for that purpose. And so what Sanim and I spoke about is maybe Smithfield may not be the most appropriate location in terms of, you know, public transport access, etc. But at least it's a good start for us to use this and get Terra Mettarama going at that time. And then I suppose the rest is history. We just watched this incredible journey that Severa has so skillfully put together. And yeah, it really warms my heart to see how this residents have been able to be an offering to the Sangha, but also for the lay community to come together as well. And I just can't wait to see what will happen with Mettarama going into the future. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. You know, we wouldn't be here without Tina. And, you know, and without Tina's parents either. And I just, you know, I could talk a lot on the, you know, just how grateful we really are for that. But I think, you know, the slide said it all, that, you know, everything that's happened, if it weren't for Tina's initiative, you wouldn't have any of this. So she's really been our pillar of support, as well as being our current president of the you know, what may morph into the Future Association. Is there anyone else who has any stories they'd like to share from the Smithfield residents? Because I'd like to share a little bit about, you know, my experience of coming into Smithfield. Because, you know, for me, after I left Newbury, I didn't really know what I was doing, just in general. And Smithfield was really there for me at a time that I needed it. You know, I was made to feel quite welcome by the community here as a stranger. Well, as a relative newcomer to Sydney, I had stayed in Sydney briefly before. And we can't take it for granted that that actually exists, because, you know, if I were to go back to my hometown, actually there's no place for bikinis in Brisbane or in Queensland. So, you know, when I do come to different states and there is actually structures and support available, those are the things that basically make life possible for me. Because, you know, as a nun, when you don't necessarily have the social acknowledgement or the social support, you can survive, but you don't necessarily thrive. So I think for me, I also have very much, need to acknowledge the gratitude I personally have for the Smithfield residents, because it made my life possible. And, you know, it's quite likely I'll stay in Sydney for a long time. So it's also, you know, just made my entire life. And all of the, you know, meditation and practice that I'd like to commit to, just even possible in a very basic and fundamental sense. So that's just a little bit of sharing that I had, and it was really inspiring to me to see people coming into that space after COVID, to be using it as a Dhamma space, and to see the community coming together behind that. So yeah, as someone who turned up in a new town, I'm just very grateful to everyone's generosity in that respect. Because would anyone else like to speak, or can we continue moving forward? Because I think I had prepared 2 certificates.
Before we do that, can I just acknowledge Aya Sabira's input into Mettarama? I really need it, because I think, Aya, when you took over and you became so actively involved in Mettarama, and you brought people together, and you were so active in creating the website and the events and all of that, I think so much of what Mettarama is today is also because of your skillful work in it as well. So if it hasn't been acknowledged already, I think we really should, because you've just been so key to all of this. And I'm so glad that the residents have been able to support you personally, but I also think that your contribution to Mettarama has been enormous. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for those kind words, because, you know, we just try to do what we can. Actually, the founder of Siji, which is a Taiwanese Buddhist relief organisation, Venerable Master Cheng Yen's teacher, you know, originally when Venerable Master Cheng Yen went to ordain, because she had her head shaved previously, they weren't going to allow her into the ceremony. But at the last moment, Venerable Master Shenyan came and intervened to ask her to join the ceremony. And, you know, for someone to be in that position, you can imagine the debt of gratitude that she must have personally had. And the advice that Venerable Master Shenyan gave to her was to work at all times for sentient beings, and to work at all times for Buddhism. So, you know, we all just try to do what we can, you know, for Buddhism and the sentient beings. But yeah, I do actually have some certificates, because I have 2 copies of this. So one is to remain permanently at the Harris Park residence. The other one is for Tina's parents. And the certificate is given by the resident Bhikkhu Sangha to acknowledge and rejoice in the contributions of Shu Tong Ming and Yet Long Mog, where I understand to be earning, in offering the residents at Smithfield to Mettarama Nuns Monastery. So this is just a small token of our gratitude. So that closes our Smithfield chapter. And I wanted to introduce everyone now to the new residents at Harris Park. So I was thinking, you know, if it was like, if we had this zoning, I could have taken it in person, but because it's in a residential building, I can't do that. So what I wanted to do is to virtually do the residence tour, to basically show everyone what your, you know, hard work is supporting. And, you know, just, I don't know, maybe just see where we will live. So we moved to Harris Park on June 18th this year. So that's me, as well as Noveline, Ishika and Alex, who were the move-in team. So we did a lot of running around, and Alex did a lot of driving, and we all managed to get the things actually moved, again, which was quite remarkable given my generally laissez-faire approach to organisation in that respect. So very grateful. So you can see the new residence, that's the common area that we've been using, you know, for meditation and the eating and activities, as well as, you know, office and study. This is the kitchen, you know, which does everything it should. We have a room there which is available at the moment for nuns, so I'm there long term. We can also take short-term stay applications for Australian citizen and PR. I'm looking at ways to potentially open up short-term for limited international guests, but I just need to do a little bit more negotiation around that. Venerable Padma was the first person to really make use of, you know, the short-term stay options. So we had a mattress for her, and we all were quite cosy. This is the bathroom with the curtain that's kindly been provided by Jayanta. See, Padma doesn't remember the curtain. This is all since she left a few hours ago. Backyard. So to actually make this happen, Jayanta had to put a huge effort into actually getting the lease organised. So we really, I'm grateful to the committee and to Jayanta, and Nimi also came out too in that respect. And also rejoicing with the rent supporters, you know, all of the donors who have been supporting the residents. And it's very interesting actually, because, you know, I don't always know the people who choose to support. I don't always necessarily know why they choose to support. But, you know, there's clearly something, you know, in the Buddhist teachings, which, you know, which does inspire people to reach out to people they don't necessarily know. You know, to support Lanza, to support Buddhism, and to support the wider community. So it's always very touching to be, essentially supported by, more different people who we may not necessarily know. But the Buddha said, when Buddhas arise in the world, people become generous. And that's one of the signs of Buddha. So, also rejoicing in the people we know and the people we don't know. And, to even get the furniture, we've also received quite a number of donations, a desk, vacuum cleaner, etc. So the people on the board and those who contributed to furniture and furnishings for the new residents since moving in. And that's just the larger items because there were some items that were donated earlier. But yeah, that's the main things I wanted to share for today. And that might be a good point to conclude. Exactly on time, 3:45 p.m. So, Tina, would you like to do water throwing? Because we do have the water throwing set. I think you'd like to dedicate the rest all for the Smithfield residents. Yeah, sure. Yeah, this is our final opportunity to really close on a high note and to express our deep gratitude and appreciation for all of the Smithfield donors. Especially the family. Yata varivaha pura paripurenti sagarang ivameva ito vinnan petarang upagapati yachitang patitam tunang hipameva samijatu sabbe purentu sankapa chanda marasuyata manijotira suyata Sabdaroga Vinimata Sarasanta Bhavajito Sarvaveramadikanto Nibuto Chatuan Bhava Sabitiyo Vivajantu Sabaruko Vinasatu Mate Bhavantvantaraya Sukhidika Yuko Bhava Abhivadana Sile Sanicca Buddha Pachayino Chataru Dhamma Vadanti Ayuvano Sukham Bhavan Bhavatu Sabhamangalam Rakantu Sabhadevata Sabha Buddhan Bhavena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sabhamangalam Rakantu Sabhadevata Sabhadhammanubhavena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te Bhavatu Sabhamangalam Rakantu Sabhadevata Sabha Sanghanubhavena Sada Soti Bhavantu Te. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, so we close Smithfield on a high note. Thank you, everyone. There's tea available if you want some. The water, you can just go on a plant outside or a tree if you can find one. I think Chris has gone back home already, but I just wanted to acknowledge as well Chris's beautiful candle. So Chris is a beekeeper from Central West West. So I understand that the candles are handmade. He makes them for special events. So Chris had kindly offered to donate candles for special events. And I mentioned to Chris, in many parts of Asia, this is actually the time of the year for donating candles, because being able to support quite up the monasteries of Vasa as the monastics enter the 3 months retreat. So that's Chris's handiwork. You can see that. So that's amazing. Yeah, I know, it's really quite comfortable. If he had, I think the kids may have been a little bit excited. If we see him another time, we'll have to mention.
So his birthday as well.
It's his birthday.
You wanted to donate.
So yeah. So